I am going to ask you a very important question. What does it actually mean to be 1% better every single day? Because I'm sure that you've heard plenty of professional athletes talk about trying to be 1% better every day. But I don't think anyone actually knows what that means. So think about what your answer is, because I have a strong feeling that you're wrong and you don't actually know what it means. And I'll tell you why in a second. Because I spent a lot of yesterday afternoon thinking about this, and then I asked this same question to a group of 10-year-olds that I coach on a Wednesday morning. And I anticipated the type of answers that they would give me. And they said to me, it means that I have to, get better at my dribbling every day. It means that I have to, try and get better at something every day. I have to find something to get better at every day. Yeah, today I might get better at this, or tomorrow I might get better at that. Okay. And I said to them that they're wrong. I don't think that's what it means. And I told them that's wrong. That's not what it means to become 1% better every day. Now, they were shocked. So I asked them, can you right now write down 100 things that you could do over the next 100 days to get 1% better every single day? Could you write down 100 things that would get you 1% better every day? And they all said no. Because football is not complicated. Over the course of 100 years, football has more or less stayed the same. It hasn't changed much. You wouldn't be able to come up with new things to get better at after about 20 or so things. So how can you actually get 1% better every day? If every professional athlete talks about getting 1% better every day, how can you actually implement this into your life and into your training? The biggest misconception is that players feel they need to reinvent the wheel, which isn't true. Getting 1% better every day doesn't mean trying to come up with a new thing to get better at every day. Most of the time, all it means is that you need to stay consistent. You need to be stacking days over the course of a week, a month, and years. If you do not stack days and eventually build a tower, all you're doing is building a road that leads to nowhere. And a road that leads to nowhere is useless. So, stacking days, the reason why stacking days is so important is because you end up experiencing the reward of the compound effect. If you do not build compound interest, you cannot progress as a footballer. You cannot build your tower. You end up building a path that leads to nowhere. So, at its core, becoming 1% better every day is just about being consistent. Because there are going to be many days where you are not technically 1% better. Think about elite sprinters. If I wanted to become faster, I am not going to be able to beat my 100-meter time by 1% every single day. Some days I might run slower, some days I might run faster. And the same thing goes for football. If I wanted to become a better striker, I might not score a goal every single game. That doesn't technically make me a better or worse player if I score or if I do not score. But the process in which I try to become a better striker is what is important. And it is important that I continue to follow and maintain that process consistently. I hope that makes sense. There are going to be days where you do not train your best. There are going to be days where you do not feel like you are getting 1% better. And that's fine. It's normal. That's a part of the process. What's important is that you show up and you get the work done, regardless of how you feel. That's the key. Regardless of how you feel on any given day, you must show up and get the work done. If you are someone that, for example, I hear this a lot amongst players, but if you're someone that decides to randomly train twice a day for a week, but then you don't do that again for another month, You're not stacking any days. You have not built a tower. You're not progressing at all. All you did was train really hard for a week. That's going to get you nowhere. And you're not going to see any progress either. Sometimes getting 1% better just means maintaining the same standard that you set the day before that. And that might not make sense, because you will say to me, well, Thomas, I didn't get any better. I stayed the same. Yes and no. So sometimes maintaining your standard is still getting you 1% better, because you're doing something more than you did the day before. And in my eyes, that's what separates great players from decent players. It's the standard that they set and that they hold themselves to. Bad players don't care if they give away sloppy passes. Bad players don't care if they hit the target or not in training. Good players care. Those things matter to them. The little things matter to them. Hey! What the fuck? Funny, I ran into a guy I used to go to school with. Yeah. But, anyway. So that's what getting 1% better actually means. Think about this. Think about the standards that you set for yourself. Think about the standards that your environment sets for themselves. Because that's maybe a story for another time. But it's important to I forgot what the saying is, but you need to outperform your environment. A lot of you are probably in environments that you don't want to be and that do not have the same standards as you. It's important that you outperform your environment. Do not let the environment you are in dictate the standards that you set for yourselves and that you try to maintain. I know that this is a difficult thing and it's a story for another time, but outperform your environment. Regardless of how you feel, you need to keep on stacking days and build your tower. Do not build a road that leads to nowhere. Study this diligently. And yeah.